One of the other concepts that we should be familiar with is changing the equation that we are given into the standard form for whatever figure it is that we're trying to deal with. We've done this a lot with circles, and we also want to be able, and we've done it with parabolas, and we want to be able to do it with ellipses too. Before I start, I'm just going to remind myself what I want to end up with at the end. An ellipse looks something like this: an x minus h quantity squared over a squared plus a y minus k quantity squared over b squared equals 1. So I need to have this all add up to equal 1. And I've noticed I have fractions and quantity squareds, and nothing about this original equation has that. So I have to do some manipulation. The first manipulation I'm going to do is to get the x's together. I'm going to get the y's together. And I'm going to move my constant term to the other side. Watch and make sure that you change your sign when you move that to the other side. That's really important. Now, it's starting to look a little bit more like my form. I still need to get this idea of a quantity squared going, and I do know that that involves some completing of the square. Because the a value in front of these squared terms is not 1, I cannot complete the square yet. So I'm going to pull the 4 out of my x's. So I have an x squared plus 8x. Now I'm going to leave a space so that I can come back and complete the square. I'm going to pull a 7 out of my y's, leaving a blank so I can come back and complete the square. So to go back and complete the square, I have to take half of b and square it, which is adding 16. Now typically whatever you add to the left, you always have to add to the right. Be careful because there's a 4 out front here. So don't just put a plus 16 over here, because you actually added more than 16. You added 16 times 4 to this side. So you actually added 64. Here I'm taking half of b, which is 5, and squaring it, so I'm adding 25. But again, I'm really adding 25 times 7, which is a 175. So you have to make sure you adjust these numbers when you've pulled a number out of the original quantity. Now, I should be ready to go ahead and complete the square, get a little bit more of my ellipse forming. And if I do negative 211 and 64 and 175, that should leave me with a 28, so just double check those numbers. Now I'm almost here. I've got this quantity squared going on. I do have this plus in the middle. What I don't have is the fraction, and I don't have the 1. Well, I know to make this equal 1, I would have to divide by 28. And if I'm going to divide this side by 28, I need to divide this side by 28. And what should happen now is this number in front of both should divide evenly into the 28, which gives you your fraction. So we'll have x plus 4 quantity squared over 7. And then we'll have y minus 5 quantity squared over 4, and that equals 1. Now I have my ellipse equation. I know where the center is. I can see what my a squared is, so I could find my vertices if needed. I could find my foci if needed by doing my c squared equals a squared minus b squared. So there's all kinds of things that could happen now that I have my equation.